Welcome to Dropping In, a podcast of storytelling and interviews with your host, Winter Olympian Mercedes Nickel.
Thank you so much for dropping in on episode 23. The 2020 winter season is upon us, and I wanted to help you guys prepare for the season. I've reached out to some extreme athletes, some photographers, and more to find out what they put in their pack when they head out for the day. Let me introduce episode 23's guest that we'll be dropping in with. She makes snowmobiling look easy, taking drops on her snowmobile that you probably wouldn't even take on your skis or snowboard. She respects the backcountry and has the knowledge of snow science. She owns her own company, She Shreds Mountain Adventures. It offers snowmobile clinics, guided adventures, avalanche courses for women and men. She's featured in YouTube series with Polaris and Toyota. She's pretty much an all-around badass. This mother, business owner, snowmobiler, biker, horseback rider, photographer is someone you're going to want to listen to and find out what's in Julie-Ann Chapman's pack. Julie-Ann, are you ready to drop in?
I'm ready to drop in.
Okay, rapid fire, 10 questions.
Okay.
Number 1, is it strictly sledding or do you ski and snowboard as well?
Strictly sledding now. I dropped the snowboarding. I'd say maybe I want to say like 8-9 years ago. It's a new passion. So I loved snowboarding when I first did it and grew with the sport. And then when I started snowmobiling, it was a new passion. So I'm a all or nothing kind of girl, and I put 100% into sledding.
Yes. See, that's why I never did it, because I was like, I'm pretty sure I would never turn back.
Well, you look at a lot of the snowboard babes like Leanne Pelosi and, Mary Frost, they're all still ripping, and they rip on their sleds too. So it's a matter of time, I think, before you get to that point where you can do both and just rip both.
So true. So true. Sorry. Okay. Number 2, you travel all over Canada to snowmobile and teach clinics. What's your favorite place to snowmobile?
Ooh, well, I do travel down to the States, not this year, obviously, because of COVID as well. And so if the question is for Canada, I would have to say, this is a tough one. When I first started sledding, the coast, Pemberton, Whistler area, very friendly for beginners. It's lots of wide open areas to learn, no trees, no obstacles. But now at my level of riding, where I really like to push myself in technical riding and trees and that kind of stuff, I would have to say where I live now in the West Kootenays, near Nelson, BC. There is some sick riding here for a little bit more technical stuff. But those are my 2 favorite places in Canada.
Are you in Nelson or are you in Pemberton?
I'm in Nelson now.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I moved. I unfortunately missed the real estate boat over.
Totally fair.
My next step in adulting was to buy a house. And so, I bought a acreage. I was able to afford an acreage with a 5,600 square foot house for $300,000.
Boom.
Yeah. So,
and I have a under 700 square foot apartment.
whatever works. I mean, I have horses and stuff, and so I wanted that was just part of my dreams too.
So rad. I know. I watched some of your videos with your horses and everything. Oh, look at that outside.
Yeah, you can't see them right now because they're eating in their shed. But the horses are right outside my bedroom window.
I feel like you have more snow than we do.
Well, we got a ton of snow.
Dang. Oh my gosh. Okay, we'll get to that. Okay, number 3, must have accessory on your sled.
Ooh, yeah. You know what? In my older age, I'm gonna say an electric start. When I was younger, I was so hard-headed, and I was like, don't need electric start. Those are for old people. Now I'm like, when my sled's upside down and I need to get it started, I'm not yanking on it bent over like a hunchback of Notre Dame. I'm just gonna push a button. So much
Heck
easier.
yeah. Oh my gosh. I love this. Okay. The reason I do this is so that the listeners get to learn more about you, and this is perfect.
Really, I don't know the questions you're
I
asking.
know. No one knows. I just made them up too. Okay. Number 4. You've been in BC for over 20 years now. Why? Almost over 20 years?
I'd say, hold on a second. I'd say more like 17 years.
Okay. And how long have you been in Nelson?
Only 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, I'm just outside of Nelson, so like 15 minutes outside of Nelson.
Okay.
Yeah.
3 years in Nelson.
In Pemberton, BC, I was there for 6. Wait, my numbers don't match here.
A while.
A while, put it that way. Yeah.
You hunkered down in Pemberton for a while.
I did. Yeah.
Now you're kind of far away.
I am.
That's okay. You got the good snow and you got the acreage. That's why.
Totally. I don't get me wrong though. I do miss the sea to sky corridor. There is some solid people and some solid mountains there for sure.
Yeah. All right. Number 5, big drop on a sled or pow turns?
Big drop if the conditions are good. I mean, good as in like deep. I'm not going to be dropping off of anything, especially in my older age, if it's not super, super deep.
Let's tell the listeners how old you are, because you're not even that old.
No, I'm 34. but yeah, it's the conditions have to be perfecto for me to do a big drop. And so yeah, the adrenaline and all that stuff is so awesome when the conditions are right. But if the conditions are not right, a soulful pow turn any day. I'll take that.
And how big is like a big drop for you?
I'd say the biggest drop I ever did was about like 30-ish feet.
Like normal people in the intro, like I say, normal skiers or snowboarders would probably not do drops on their skis or snowboard that you would do on a sled, which I think is true.
Yeah, there's some hardcore snowboarders and skiers out there.
I know, but like recreational.
Yeah, 10-4. Yeah, no, for sure. It's an adrenaline rush, and you really got to know, how to properly land and with the right amount of throttle and all that, or else you're going to be eating the handlebars right in your face and hurting yourself. So,
and that makes me think of Devin Walsh, actually, who got the like handlebar to his throat, and now his voice will never be the same.
Totally. Or Cale Stevens, handlebars right to the face, loading his sled.
Oh yeah, God. That's where he like took off his nose. Yeah. Okay, moving on.
That dates us now.
Yeah, that dates us. Yeah. Whatever. Moving on. Number 6, preseason workouts and cross training. What do you do because sleds are heavy?
Yeah, so midsummer, like in the off season, a lot of mountain biking for endurance, and I'm talking like pedaling uphill. I don't have an e-bike, and so I'm not cheating. Those with e-bikes will tell me that e-bikes are not cheating, but still I'm saying it's cheating.
I want an e-bike.
They're pretty rad. My buddy Darren Terras and Matt Langman, they came out to visit this summer, and they brought their e-bikes, and yeah, I think they've sold me on them. But still, long story short,
get ready for the season.
Get ready for the season. Lots of mountain biking this summer. Riding my horses is great for core and legs.
Yeah.
And then when the fall hits, that's when I start to do some pretty intensive interval training. I bought a gym, $1,600 from a wholesaler in Kamloops, full setup, like rack and everything, mats on the ground and everything. And so it was money well spent, because now with COVID, like I would not want to work out with a mask on. And so, yeah, full high intensity interval training, heavy weights, lower reps, and just getting that muscle built up for.
Do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy working out? Be honest.
The truth?
Yeah, I do. I really do, because I hate it, but I make it a goal to finish it because I'm so stubborn.
Totally. I hate it as well.
Okay.
Once I get into it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is good. And like the hurt, the burn at the end is like, oh yeah, this is a good burn.
Yeah.
But it's getting to the point of, okay, it's been an hour. I've been thinking about going to do my workout. Should
100%.
Let's go.
I feel you. I feel you. Oh, that's so true. Okay, perfect. Honesty is the best policy here. I do like jog tours, and I bring my phone with me sometimes, and people love it because I always get lost. And, and I hate jogging, like I hate it, but at least it gives me something to do, and I like know I've gone out there and I have to come back.
That's awesome. You put a tracker on to get yourself back so you're not lost.
No. I get brutally lost. Like I did it in Toronto, and I was like, oh, get to know the neighborhood, and then I just dead end. It was pretty bad, but I still try. I did one in Vegas too. Like wherever I travel, I try and do them to just get to know the area. It's pretty fun. Anyways,
That's awesome.
I digress. Back to you. Number 7, being the owner of She Shreds, you teach men and women how to snowmobile. How long does it take to learn how to snowmobile?
Ooh, that's a tough question. It all depends how much effort you put into it. So just like anything in life, if you only do it, once or twice a year, it's going to take you years to get better. If you do it, like when I started, I was out there like 4 or 5 times a week. So it only took me a season to really get the hang of it. And
a season.
Yeah. So, but that's 4 or 5 times a week. That's quite a bit during the winter.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it all depends how much effort you put into it. It will distinguish how fast you learn.
And so when you have a clinic, oh my God.
Okay, COVID.
Sorry. I don't have COVID. When you run a clinic, how many days are the clinics?
I offer 1 and 2 day clinics, usually. I will do privates longer if the people have the stamina, endurance, and strength to do more than 2 days. So because it's a clinic, you are asked physically to do a lot of maneuvers and skill progression lessons and stuff like that. So by the end of 2 days, a rider is usually just finished. And so I got to be really careful too on how much I push my clients. If somebody shows up, like for you, for example, if you showed up, you're fit, you train, all that kind of stuff. So I can push you a little harder and you can take a little bit more. But somebody who, works a Monday to Friday office job and doesn't work out, I got to be really careful at how much I push them, because if I push them too hard, they'll be done by 10 a.m.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because how heavy are the sleds?
They're almost like around 500 pounds. Yeah, they're pretty heavy. Those are lighter than the older sleds too. I'm talking new sleds here.
Oh man.
There's always a way to shed weight off your sled. Like Chris Brandt, for example, he puts everything carbon, everything titanium, so his sleds are like super light, but
wild.
Yeah. So it all depends how much money you have, and
Yeah. I mean, it's not a cheap sport to get into, for sure. That's like another reason I never did it. Also, I was like, I don't know what to do out there.
Totally. It's a very expensive sport. I mean, you can get away with doing it on a budget, but then you're dealing with older gear, and you're dealing with, sleds that might break down a little bit more and that kind of stuff. So there are ways to do it a little cheaper, but it's always best to put the money into it and get the good stuff. And when I'm talking safety gear too, that's something that you never cheap out on.
Oh yeah, no. And we'll get into that when we find out what's in your pack. I honestly, I love the rapid fires. They're so slow. It's the best. Okay. What is your favorite season?
Ooh, winter, obviously.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, by the end of the winter, I'm like, oh yeah, bring on summer, because I'm just burnt out and tired and physically just done. So you ask me now what my favorite season is? Winter, 100%. Ask me in April. Yeah, ask me in April and I'll be like, yeah, I'm pretty stoked it's summer.
Yeah. I think we're all on that same page. I know when it's like, yeah, April, May, you're kind of like, okay, bring on the sunshine for us West Coasters.
We do it as our business as well. And so we're in it 110%.
Yeah, get these snowboard boots off my feet. Do you have, random question, not part of this. So being naive about snowmobiling, do you have specific snowmobile boots?
I do, and I'm actually about to go do a big AVSAR Avalanche course in Golden in two weeks,
Yeah.
and it's on a split board. I haven't put a board on in my feet in like 7 years.
No way.
Have only snowmobile boots, and so the snowmobile boots, I mean, they're kind of the same as snowboard boots, but just a little bit of a thicker sole and more harder kind of material, so it doesn't
Okay.
eat away on the running boards. And
Right.
so I'm about to show up to this Avalanche course, and it's probably going to be all like high-end skiers guides, the ACMD guides and all, and they're going to be like, who is this chick on snowmobile boots and a board that's borrowed by I'm borrowing my partner's board, and
I love it.
I'm gonna be at the back of the line, that's for sure.
Just like on the heart. Oh, that'll be interesting. Can't wait to hear how that goes.
Yeah,
That's perfect that you bring that up, because I was gonna say you're well versed in snow science. I'm wondering what level Avi courses you have.
yeah. So I have certificate wise, I have my operations level 1.
Mm-hmm.
I've been working towards my operations level 2 for quite a few years now, but it kind of got delayed because I had a kid. And so that got put on the back burner for 2 years. And now that my little dude's 2 years old, I'm able to separate and go do these big courses. And so I'm doing my last prerequisite in 2 weeks. And I'm so close to getting my operations level 2.
And operations level 1 allows you to do what?
Allows you to be a guide. The snowmobiling and skiing and snowboarding are two very different things when it comes to guiding right now, because snowmobiling's still kind of new guiding, and so they're trying to make it even across the board for snowmobile guides and ACMG guides. There is oh my goodness, there's a guy in Revelstoke, Steve Scott, who is now developing the Motorized Snowmobile Guide Association, I think
Yeah.
is what it's called. Like, don't quote me on that. I don't really remember the actual title, but it's in the works. They're definitely trying to make it minimum operations level 2 to be a snowmobile guide in the next very near future.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to make it a little bit more even for ski guides and snowmobile guides. So we're
Cool.
not.
Because safety is of the utmost importance while we're out there, for sure. It's always top of mind for me, at least. All right, number 10, we're rounding up the rapid fire. What is the one recommendation that you have for someone thinking about starting to snowmobile?
Ooh, it is probably, I hate to crush your dreams, but it's probably one of the hardest sports you'll ever try to get into. I compare it to surfing.
Mm-hmm.
That was a tough one for me to get into, just, reading the ocean, you're reading the mountains as far as like safety goes, and avalanches and riptides, and stuff. And so physically, it's a very demanding sport. So I always say, set your expectations low with anything in life, your partner, what your partner's cooking you for dinner, and you will be happy. So you don't set your expectations when you first start that you're going to be side hilling in 2 weeks. That's never going to happen. Set your expectations low with, maybe being able to do a couple power cars linked up together, and you'll be like, oh, I was able to do that. And so it'll keep you in tune, and it'll also keep you enjoying the sport if you set your expectations low.
Be a realist, people. Thank you for participating in the rapid fire. Really appreciate it. Definitely learn more about snowmobiling and how difficult it is, but I do still need to get out there. I know that much. I love it. Like, I go, gosh, once in a blue moon, and I have a smile from ear to ear. And unfortunately, I competed for far too long and never got out there, even though you were like, let's get out there.
Maybe this is the year, because you're not going to be traveling for competitions this year.
I know. Nelson, here I come. Are you ready for me?
I still, you know what? My operations are still functioning 100% in Pemberton and Worcester area. I just have a lead guide, Janice McWilliam, who teaches all the clinics for me over there now.
Wicked.
And so, yeah, I deal with the customer relations and the bookings when it comes to the coastal operations, but Janice is the one who's on snow.
Awesome. Janice could be my new best friend.
She's pretty awesome.
Wicked. Okay, so let's get into it. I really want the listeners to get a feel of what is in an expert's pack, and if you could kind of just guide us through what you put in your pack, that would be amazing.
Absolutely. So I'm going to start this off by telling you there's two different places to put your stuff on a snowmobile. So there's obviously your pack, and then there's your tunnel bag that's on the back of the snowmobile. And so picking where you put this gear is pretty detrimental, just because if your snowmobile goes into a crevasse, if you're riding up the Pemberton ice caps and your snowmobile goes down a crevasse, all you have on you to survive is what's in your pack.
Right.
And so basically where I'm going with this is whatever you put in your tunnel bag, you don't need that stuff to survive. And everything that you do need to survive is in your backpack. And so let's start going down the list, and I'll let you know where I carry it on me. And so number one, the full first aid kit. And so when I say full first aid kit, that basically is, your basics, obviously Band-Aids and little, whatchamacallit, like steri strips and, all these kind of little things. But I also carry like a hardcore first aid kit that has splints and, you're dealing with snowmobiling, and so you're more prone to have these big bleeds and stuff like. So I got like blood clotting. Yeah, I don't want to scare you, but
just being prepared for the worst.
Yeah, and in my 17 plus years snowmobiling, I've never had to use a blood clot pad, so thank God. And I'm gonna knock on
all of the wood.
And so yeah, it's just being prepared. It's it's a question of it's not never gonna happen, it's when is it gonna happen, and I'll be prepared kind of thing. And so there's lots of places online to get a list of all what you should have in your first aid kit. Taking a wilderness first aid course is huge. They offer a 40-hour and they offer an 80-hour. And obviously to be a snowmobile guide, you have to have the top of the top. So I have an 80-hour plus CPR. But you can have your first aid kit, but not really know how to use it. So that's when the course comes into play. You get to at least know how to use all your gear. The pack itself, I carry an Avalanche pack, a Highmark by Snowpulse Avi pack. This doesn't affect my decision-making points at all in the backcountry. Like I'm not gonna be like, oh, I can ride this face because I have an Avi pack. It's an Avi pack is just an extra tool to help if you got into a crappy situation kind of thing. And so the pack itself, communications. So next is very often you're snowmobiling in out of cell phone reception areas. So as a guide, I have to have two modes of communication. So I carry an inReach and a satellite phone. A recreational user doesn't really need both. If you're going to pick one, I would probably go with the inReach just because it's a little cheaper and it's actually a little bit more dependable just because satellites, they orbit around the Earth. And so these devices depend on these satellites. And so if you're on a call with a satellite phone, you're going to get dropped because you're slowly orbiting. And so your call will only last about 8 minutes and then you'll get dropped and you'll have to search for another satellite, to hook onto. And so the inReach is a little bit more dependable. It's more smooth communication, whereas the sat phone, it drops and picks up and stuff. And so, inReach. And then next is communications within the group. And so having a good two-way radio, I use the Baofeng VHF radio only because I go up a lot of logging roads that there's logging. And so I need to be able to communicate with logging trucks, and that kind of stuff. And so the VHF radio allows you to do both. It's a little bit more of a complicated radio to use just because you have to get it programmed and understand the programming a little bit more. Whereas, BCA and just those, Motorola radios are low level kind of recreational. users. Also with the VHF radios, you have to, if you're going to be getting it programmed with channels that, like, you know, the search and rescue or the helicopters and the helicopter companies in the area and stuff like that, you have to have a permit, like a license, to be able to get those programmed into your radio. So just be aware of that stuff if you're going the VHF route.
Very cool.
Next, rope and carabiners. So I always carry a little bit of rope, like 6 to 15 feet of rope.
I like that that's a little bit of rope for you. Like a little bit of rope would be like 2 feet for someone. You're like, a little bit of rope, 6 to 15 feet. Mellow.
Yeah. So if your snowmobile goes into, like, you know, a really tree well or something like that, it's nice to have long ropes to tie on ski loops to be able to stand outside of the tree well and have a straight back while you're pulling it, instead of being all hunched over in the hole and trying to pull a ski and stuff. And so on a regular day, that's what I'll carry for rope, and towing sleds out too. It's nice to have a nice longer rope so you're not constantly butt ending the person.
Yeah.
But when I'm traveling on glaciers, I'm talking like 100 to 200 feet ropes and harnesses. And,
how big is your pack?
Well, that stuff goes on the tunnel bag. Yeah. So, I forgot to tell you where I carry this stuff. So let's go back up. The full first aid kit. I carry a tiny little first aid kit in my pack. The big first aid kit with all the splints and all that stuff in the tunnel bag. The satellite communication in my backpack. The rope in the tunnel bag. Don't need rope to survive. Next, shovel, probe, and transceiver. That's a given. Transceiver on your body, probe, and shovel on your backpack. You'll see a lot of sledders. Sorry to stereotype, but from Alberta especially, that they carry their shovels on their tunnels. And so I say to clients, if you're going to carry your shovel in your tunnel, sure, let it be your second shovel, your backup shovel, so you don't have to take your pack off when you're getting unstuck. You can just rip it off your tunnel bag and just start shoveling. Never carry your only shovel on your tunnel bag, because if you get into an avalanche, or if one of your buddies gets into an avalanche and all of a sudden you need your shovel but you left your sled way down at the bottom, you're screwed. Your buddies, the timing is everything when it comes to burials. And so just make sure you have that shovel on you.
For sure.
Snowmobile tools, so that's super heavy. I keep that on my tunnel bag. And that is, each brand has specific tools. And so Skidoo has its specific tools, and Polaris has its specific tools and sizes. And so I try to carry as much as I can, because I have clients with a whole bunch of different kind of sleds. And that's on my tunnel bag because I don't need tools to survive. Survival kit, that's huge. And so that's in my backpack, obviously. In the survival kit, I got food, extra water. I've got ways to light fires. So to survive in general in the winter harsh conditions, you need warmth, you need food, and you need water. And so ways to light fires, I've got I think 3 different ways to light fires. I've got waterproof matches, I've got flints, and lighters.
I'm so glad you went into that, because I was like, 3 different ways. Okay. Go ahead.
So if your lighter gets wet, it's hard to get a start of a flame. And so lighter is always number 1 because it's easiest, obviously, but it's really easy to get them wet in snow. And so backup is waterproof matches. And then backup is a flint, which is a little harder to light a fire, but about what you got, you're talking Flintstones here. So let's
going old school.
Yeah. And then survival kit, I have a little fishing hook and plastic, like fishing wire, I guess, if you want to call it.
Fishing line.
Yeah. The chances of me finding a fish in the winter is probably pretty low, but I've got food in my backpack, so I think I'm good. But just in case, I got stuff to catch fishes. And then, tampons, not just because I'm a girl, but it's a great way to light a fire. You dip the tampon in your gas tank of your snowmobile, and you got yourself an insta way to light a nice big fire.
I wonder if any of the boys have that.
Oh yeah. So in my Avalanche courses that I teach, I always have like little prizes for people that answer questions. And
Yeah.
so very often I'll bring a box of tampons and the guys are like,
You get a tampon and you get a tampon. Everyone gets tampon.
she shreds. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So by the end, they understand why they're getting a tampon. Extra gloves, lots of extra gloves, especially if you're in a survival mode. You're going to be building yourself a little quincy, a little, somewhere to keep warm that's sheltered from the elements. And so you're using your hands in snow, and you want to make sure that you try to avoid a hypothermia as much as you can, and frostbite and that kind of stuff. And so heat packs too, carry lots of heat packs for my toes, my hands.
Like how many? What's a lot?
I carry 2 full foot ones. I carry 2 just toe ones and 2 hand ones.
I don't even think I've seen full foot ones.
Yeah.
I think I need those. I got frostbite on my toes like 10 years ago, and they just are so unhappy now.
Totally. And that's a lifelong thing you gotta kind of deal with after that.
I'm fine. No, I'm not fine.
It's your hardcore talking there. Yeah, I found those full foot ones. A photographer of a buddy of mine had them in his pack because photographers are just standing around all the time, and so he would be detrimental for photographers.
For sure.
What else? So wood saw. So you'll see a lot of people, with the plastic handle with the saw that flips out. I personally don't really like those because they're pretty limited to length. And so that limits you to the size of logs that you're cutting down. I really like the chain that you pull on each side because that lets you take down the big suckers pretty quick. What else?
And would you have a saw in your sled handle as well?
Those are usually pretty flimsy.
Okay.
I've not once seen a shovel with a good solid saw. So if you want a solid saw, go with the saw company. Steel has a really good one. And Mountain Lab Gear, a new company from last year, they've got a really good one that's like a chain.
Imagine there was like that flimsy one that like came out of the top of your...
That would be pretty cool. That's for the creators. Somebody needs to create one of those.
There you go. Don't steal my idea.
No,
Flimsy saw comes out of shovel. Sounds super sketchy.
That would be awesome. And so, I'm just going down my toolkit here. So, I have a compass too. All our cell phones have compasses, but you can never really depend on technology to last in the cold.
And now, do you have your cell phone on while your beacon's on?
Negative. So I put my cell phone in airplane mode, and I put it minimum 30 centimeters away from my transceiver. I do use my phone for photos for clients. I use my phone for an altimeter as well to know my elevation. I also use my phone for my emergency communication device. So that's linked to my InReach. It's an app called EarthMate that links to that. And I also use my phone for tracking Gaia maps, and so GPS style. And so that being said, I use my phone quite a bit. It's in airplane mode. Bluetooth is usually what interferes with cell phones. And so, interferes with transceivers. And so, it's in airplane mode. It's far away from my transceiver. And that being said, I do use my phone for quite a bit of stuff. And so I carry an extra battery pack for my cell phone to charge if need be. Again, knock on wood, I've never had to recharge it, but it's always good to have a backup of communication. What else? I've got a whistle. I've got a flare. Bivy sacks are huge for warmth, but also great for creating little shelters. So
what was that?
A bivy sack.
Bivy sack.
Those metal looking, those shiny.
Like once you're done a run.
Yeah. At the end
of a marathon, they put you in that.
Exactly. Totally. Exactly. So those are great for if you're stuck in the backcountry, keeping warm, and they're also great for putting down on the ground to insulate from an injured person. So when somebody's injured, the first thing that their body starts to go into shock. They lose core temperature starts to drop. And so putting that down on the ground helps with insulating. So I would put down like a bunch of clothes and then put the baby sack on top and then the person on top of that. So that's another chance to keep them warm a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And it's, as I said, when you're building shelters too, it's really good to use them as walls for wind and stuff like that to help shelter from elements.
Very cool.
Yeah, baby sacks are huge. I carry a tarp in my tunnel bag. So the survival kit's in my backpack, but the tarp is in my tunnel bag. The tarp is good for, it's good for
everything.
It's good for so many things. You can make yourself a toboggan. I mean, it's not going to be super comfortable for the person in the back, but wrap the person up and then put them in an actual toboggan. It's good for broken down sleds. So we actually used a tarp for somebody's track that blew off. So we had to pull the snowmobile with no track, and so we put the tarp underneath, so it made it a slippery surface instead of just. Yeah, so there's lots of things you can do with the tarp. Tarps are pretty awesome. What else? Oh, snow science tools. I mean, that's just because I'm a guide and I constantly am studying snow, but I wouldn't expect somebody to carry that as a recreational user. Extra food and water, I mentioned that. Wood saw. Oh, headlamp. There's lots of really great companies out there. I personally have a Lynx OGT headlamp. They have super high watt lights, and they're easily, it's not like battery powered. You just plug it into the wall to recharge, and so you're saving on batteries. And it's a local company out of Nelson, which is pretty rad. And so yeah, having a good light is huge.
Can I use that light biking as well at night?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They have different mounts to put on handlebars and a whole bunch of stuff. So it's a really cool.
It's hard to find a good lamp that actually shines. Headlamp. Headlight.
Thank you. This thing lights up it lights up my whole driveway. It's I forget the wattage of the lamp right now, but
it's good. It's all around good. Okay, I'm gonna get one.
Talking about that with sledding, and so let's say you drive your sled into a tree and you punch out your headlights, and you're all of a sudden the sun's going down. You don't have any lights to get out, so you definitely need a light. And so I always tell people, have it on your helmet because you're able to shine the light where you want to go. Whereas if it's on your handlebars and you're going uphill, the light's pointed to the moon. You can't see where you're going. So if it's on your head, at least you can shine it down. You can see where you're going.
Totally fair.
Extra goggles, extra lenses. Snowmobiling, you tend to sweat quite a bit when you're stuck, and I'm a face sweater, so my goggles, my upper lip sweater, so my goggles get fogged out super easily, and so yeah, I just bring extra of everything. My extra layers I usually put in my tunnel bag, just because it does take up room and I don't have that much room in my backpack. Extra fuel, all dependent on how deep the snow is, how far your plan is to go that day, that kind of stuff. You don't necessarily need to bring extra fuel, but it's always good to have at least one person with extra fuel, because there's always somebody in that group that is full pin all day, and he'll be or she'll be the first one to run out of fuel. And if they're the person with extra fuel, that's awesome. But if they're not the person with extra fuel, they're buying beers at the end of the day.
No tampons for you.
Tampons for you. An extra belt for the sled, obviously, that's in your snowmobile. There's always a spot in your snowmobile to carry extra belts, or one extra belt at least. And it's always good to know where your closest safety cache is for the day. So, for example, if you're going up Brandywine, Blackcomb Snowmobile and Black Tusk Snowmobile both have safety caches. Now, Blackcomb Snowmobile, they are in operation. They're probably not going to let a recreational user use their stuff, but I mean, if it's an emergency, out of pure human
decency,
they should. Black Tusk Snowmobile just put up a brand new safety cache way out towards Ring Mountain this year, and so there's one there. So yeah, know where your safety caches are, and there's always extra gear, toboggans, that kind of stuff to help out with emergencies.
Amazing.
Yeah, and so I did make a video called Pemby Life Episode 2, Respect Adventure, Safety, and on all this stuff. And this was made in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a video there you guys can reference to for as far as like safety cache goes. And there's a list of all the stuff that I mentioned on my website and my blog as well, if anybody needs that.
Yes, thank you so much. I feel like I'm enlightened and I know so much more. So great. Thank you so, so much. And again, where can people find you?
Thanks for having me, by the way. This
No
is
problem.
very nice of you, Mercedes. People can find me Instagram, at She Shreds Mountain Adventures, Facebook, She Shreds Mountain Adventures. My website is sheshreds.ca. And I'm here to talk to anybody, phone, email, whatever. And even if you're not doing a clinic, like I'm happy to help anybody get into the sport, whether it's, talking safety, wondering what they need, how to set up their snowmobile for themselves. Cause us girls, we're a little bit smaller. And so the stock machine out of crate is usually set up for somebody who's like almost 6 feet tall. And so setting up the sled for a small person always helps with maneuvering the snowmobile.
So wicked. So many things that I've learned that I did not know before. I do like to do a little takeaway, and I'll just go over some of the things. You talked about taking a wilderness first aid course. Pretty important if you're going to be out in the backcountry. You have the 80-hour one, and there was was it 60 hours?
40 hours.
40 or 80. Oh, double it up. Okay. I really liked what you said about the communication out in the backcountry, that you literally as a guide have 3 different ways to communicate. One is internally with everyone, and then 2 are to the big wide world, just to be safe there. And your quote was, set your expectations low. A little lower than you would expect, and you will be happy. Oh yeah?
I was going to say, set the expectations low, but goals high, and set your timeline to reach these goals a little bit longer than normal.
Yeah, you're not going to learn in 3 days.
Mm-mm.
Like I would hope to, because that's just not going to happen. And be prepared to sweat and try and pick up a 500-pound sled, because
Totally.
you're going to get stuck, people.
Yeah, there's techniques and tips and stuff to make life easier, obviously, when it comes to getting stuck, but layering is huge in the mountains when snowmobiling. I do a blog too on proper layering, but yes, you stop for lunch, you get cold, you get stuck, you get sweaty, and so being able to shed layers to adjust your body temperature in all these different ups and downs is huge as well.
So wicked. Also, tampons can be used to help make fires. Newsflash, men and women.
That's right.
Multiple uses of tampons. I don't think I've ever said that word more than I did on this today.
Oh, it's so good.
Awesome. Julie-Ann, thank you so much for dropping in with me today.
Thanks for having me, Mercedes.
Thanks so much for dropping in. You can find all the dropping in episodes on the Dean Blundell Network or on your preferred podcast network, where you can subscribe and not miss an episode.